Thank you, Calvin. I am super excited about sharing this project. As Calvin mentioned, it definitely is a labor of love. We have worked on this tool for about 3 years. Um, it has been a journey and has been a joy to be able to chronicle our stories, to be able to share our research and share our best practices. And so it is really a part of our background. And as Calvin mentioned, I have a background in community development, youth development, personal development, and I've worked with children from birth until our more senior elders, and it has been a journey of understanding who we are as human beings, who we are as individuals, and more importantly, who we are collectively. So to have this opportunity to share this ebook with some of the information that we've gathered over the years is an honor. And so we're so glad that you're with us today. Thank you.
Yes, and as you were sharing, I think about it in my childhood, even in my recent book, and how I shared being involved with teaching kids, even though I was a child, and becoming a young coach and catapulting young people into their dreams and coming to this terminology was not easy. And so I'm excited, really excited about what has been developed here.
And so how we're going to flow through this next 50 minutes or so is that we're going to use this tool, PowerPoint, just to keep us connected to content and to let you know what's happening and what's coming up. And so, as you see the screens change, you'll see us talk about the initial subject. We will talk even more detail, and then we will also invite you in to ask questions along the way because we really want you to dialogue in this process. And closer to the end, we have a question and answer opportunity. And so if you have burning questions, you can either write those down, you can put it in the chat so that we can make sure that we're connecting along the way. And we really want this to be uh, a tool to help our parents, to help our teachers, to help our youth practitioners, and just the members of the community. This tool is designed to help connect with young people. We focus in on boys. The tool can work across population, but right now we're focused on boys because we believe in our work, which has been with EMI as an organization for more than 19 years. We believe that we have some really great tools and insights in working with boys. And so we're promoting that with you and to you today. And as we do that, again, it's exciting to be able to share and then have you be able to tap into some of the stories along the way. And so I'm excited to introduce the EMIY Way to you. And if you have a clear view of the cover of the EMIY Way book, it says Building Bridges Between Boys, Parents, Teachers, and Youth Practitioners. It is an interactive guide to healthy communication and respectful relationships. And so as you think about that and you think about what a respectful relationship should look like between a parent, a teacher, or a youth practitioner, anybody working with our young people, especially our boys, when we think about what that looks like, we are going to paint that picture and we are going to throughout the book as you get your copy of the book, but throughout the book you'll be able to identify those things. The book is going to lead you through your own story, through your own journey, using some of the tools that we have and also the experiences that you have with boys. So super excited, and we're going to just go ahead and get started and keep rolling through our presentation here for you. And so we're going to look at some of the primary goals of the book. And again, as we do, we're going to talk a little bit about how to pull that content together for yourself and how to make the most of it. And so uh, here we go. So the primary goals of the book, there are lots of them. And as you dive into it, you'll see how much you can pull from it. But the three primary goals that we set for you is that it builds bridges between boys, parents, teachers, and youth practitioners. Building bridges is so essential in the climate that we're in because our children especially our boys, have a tendency to withdraw and to isolate and to pull themselves into more virtual reality than the actual realities that they're living every day. And there's a reason for that. And we talk about that in this book. And we talk about some ways to help advance our relationships with those boys and move them through a continuing process where they're not solely relying upon the technology that they're using. The second goal that we have for this book is to create an interactive guide to healthy communication and respectful relationships. And by that, we mean that there are opportunities for you to ask questions and to answer questions, to um, to talk about how you might respond to a certain situation, how you may have responded in the past to a certain situation, and then how you can respond now with new insights and information moving forward. So there are opportunities for you to fill in the blanks, to ask yourself questions, to take a reflection moment. And so we built this tool for that purpose. And then lastly, to create an intervention tool that can help improve the environment at home, in school, and in community. And when we talk intervention, we are, our meaning is that there is a process to show our boys a different way. So possibly the way that they're moving in the direction they're moving in may not be the best choice for them. And as a parent or as an adult, you can see that. But as a young person, this is their first exposure to that direction. And so to be able to intervene and to give them a new way of thinking or a new way of being really is about building relationship and connection. Without that relationship and without that true connection, it's very difficult for them to hear what you're saying. And this tool is going to help you to be a better listener as well. In fact, it implores you to be a better listener. And so, Calvin, do you have anything that you might want to add to the goals of the book?
Yes. So when you talk about building bridges, this part is, like you said, is such an intricate part. But how do we build bridges? This book is going to explain some of those things to you. And then when you're talking about creating an interactive guide and healthy communication, we know it's in the engagement process, which we'll talk going through this book. And the tool, we have always seen things, it's better to work in prevention. And in our work, we continuously prove the theory that prevention is better than waiting. And so this is what the book is going to do for you. And we're excited about that.
Thank you, Calvin. And so, a few highlights. We're going to look through a perspective. And I want you to brace yourself when we talk about this type of perspective. This is from the adult's point of view. This is a adult's mindset, and this is around the adult taking the opportunity to shift. Now, often when we think about adults, we think about having authority. We think about being the experts on life as it is for us right now, especially when we look in comparison to our children, especially our boys. We know that we have experience, we have information, we have knowledge, we have wisdom. The opportunity that this book allows us to see together is that boys are speaking a different language than the adults that are often interacting with them. And if you are not equipped to interpret that language, there are missed communications. And so as we look forward and continue to build from this perspective, we are working with shifting a mindset. And in the first part of the book, the first two chapters, there is a way to check your mindset. Sometimes that mindset can show up in a bias or what I call our blind sides. And so if we don't know that our blind side is not allowing us to hear or see how our boys are communicating with us, we can cause further isolation and further distance between us and them. And what we want to do is bridge the gap. And what this tool does is help us to bridge that gap. When you start to see the boys pulling back, when you start to see them responding in an emotional and often negative way, that is a cue. It's an important cue that we often miss as adults. We take a defensive mode and we take an authoritative mode versus looking at what language is he speaking. What is his body language saying? What is his reaction saying to me? And this tool helps you to interpret what that biological action or reaction is having to you so that you can interpret what it is he's really trying to say or what his true need is and how you as an adult can best support him. That's the bridge that we're building with this tool. And so it is our methodology around the EMIY way to engage, to empower, and to encourage. And so I think the quote that you see on the screen is a great way to understand it. And so it says, we cannot teach who we do not understand, and we cannot reach who we do not see. And so it opens the door for us to build, again, build the bridge through communication that is seen from the boy's point of view as more respectful. And so, Calvin, if you will add.
Yes. And so when you get into just the quote alone, we cannot teach who we do not understand. Identity is such an important piece to our boys, but it's being drowned and it's being unaligned and it's being attacked in so many ways. So our young men are growing up in this world, suicidal ideation, these things at the table because no one ever truly engages them unless they display a problem. And so we know that instead of waiting till they display a problem, we put into the time and the effort to pull out because it's tough for young men to trust you because they see so many things that goes against them. And so this engagement piece and then the empowerment and the encouragement, it's a powerful piece and it literally helps prevent suicidal ideation, the mindset. It shifts because when you are engaging a boy, you're getting next to something and you're showing that you're building trust. And then once you empower him, that's a completely different methodology that moves him. And then the encouragement is just the sauce on the burger. You've never eaten a burger without ketchup, mustard, or mayo. So there's no need of you having a son and don't have this sauce in the process.
I like that. That
Thank
sounds pretty good to me.
you. Right.
So, one of the opportunities that we have, again, as parents and as teachers, as youth practitioners, as community, we have this opportunity to build the bridges. But our question to some of you who are listening in, please feel free, you can come off the mute for just a moment. What are some of the things and changes that you are seeing in the boys in this environment that we're in? Any thoughts? That might be behaviors, new habits, new interests. What are some of the things that you're seeing among boys?
Well, we know what we're seeing. We know that technology is something that you're watching your sons spend a considerable amount of time on. And in that process, we also know recently, just today, I shared a study about what is happening to the cognitive mindset of the children by them exploring technology early. So we're really creating a population that doesn't really think for itself or react. And I like to say one of the terms that I've come up with is technology makes followers, but practical makes leaders. It is the traditional way of education that can help your boy and your children understand how to navigate the system. If it's all technology, they become dependent, and that turns into a completely different action. So those are the things we're seeing. We're seeing our boys not care about themselves, dress, hair, body odor. We're seeing our boys, yes, they struggle to communicate person to person, as Lori was just said, inboxes and said. We see our boys, they're not reading. We I developed a cursive writing book because our boys weren't don't even have a signature. And a lot of our children don't have signature, and a lot of athletes don't have signatures, which is going to impact their brand because they don't have a signature. It's hard for you to sell a baseball card with a dot and a heart. That's not a signature. And so no one's going to buy that. And so these are the things that's really happening. And then when you get into suicide, boys 5 to 11 are number one in suicide. So we know the environments that they're coming up in doesn't have this tool. And so that's why another thing that we're excited about to making a difference through this process. Heather.
Thank you, Calvin. I think it's also important to talk about some of the interactions, and we talked about this being an intervention tool as well. Some of the interactions that our boys are finding themselves in, some of the situations, and um, when you look at legal matters, it's a lot to do with decision making. And because they spend so much time in a virtual world that they own, they are the authority figures. There's nobody in their virtual world that's telling them to clean up their room, or you're spending too much time here, or directing them away from the thing that they have the most control in. And so it's one of the draws that pulls them into video games and virtual reality. It gives them the thought that they have because um, they have a great game in the video game. They automatically assume that when they're in person, the game, that skill set will automatically translate or transfer to the basketball court or to the football field or to the soccer field, even to the classroom. If you're able to play the different types of games that are even knowledge-based games, it makes you believe that that knowledge and that skill is transferable to the classroom. And if it's transferable without the skill set, without the study, without the practice, because they believe that in that virtual world that that is their practice, and it should automatically translate from the virtual world into the real world. And then it feeds the types of decisions and choices that they make that include the isolation. And so in our in this EMIY Way book, we have some stories about how different how we have engaged with different boys, and how they have how we have managed in using this tool, even the strategies that we use in the book that of course you'll learn in the book that you can now apply, because it gives you a better level of understanding of who he is, what his mindset might be when you respond. And so it's just one example I want to, because I have a son as well. And um, I can recall that as he was growing up, there were times when I would say, I tell him in early in the morning, make sure you clean up your room, make up your bed, put your dirty clothes in your hamper. And by the end of the day, we're home and he's been home for a while and he gets, connected to his screen time. And that's more important than whatever the chores were. And so, what I didn't understand then that I understand now and we have built into the EMIY Way is that behavior is actually communicating something that is really not meant to be disrespectful. It is communicating the idea of I am in control of this space. And as I'm building my control in this space, I can build my control in the reality. And so it does not translate that way. But if you don't understand that his mindset is with good intention, but it is the bridge that has to be built. Once you build that bridge, then he has a better understanding of the expectation and how to meet that expectation. And so being able to do that and find that and look at it as a tool and be able to apply it to the different ways, to the different relationships that you might have with boys is very, very powerful. And shifting your mindset to be able to step back and look at how he's communicating and what he's communicating and remove the part that looks like judgment. Remove the part that looks like he's just being disrespectful, but pull back enough to see what is he really saying. And so this tool helps you to see a little bit more about the bridge that you're building and the communication strategies that are going to be helpful. Any thoughts on that? Anybody had that situation where you have boys where they have a delayed response to what you have asked them to do? Oh, nobody's experiencing that. Okay. I know some
I
teachers
do,
and
but
some
he's very
parents do.
polite about it.
Yes, my grandson.
Yes, yes, yes. And so because we have a mindset of action, because we have a mindset that was uh that was raised in an environment and in a time where that level of communication was different than the level of communication is now. This is one of the reasons why we need to have a little bit more perspective for the growth and for the building the bridges. We already know that at some point, and some of our boys are in real trouble, and pushing them further into isolation or pushing them further into um, the miscommunication and not understanding what they are or what they need is a real challenge. And so this tool has been designed to help us to take a step back from our expectations and use some new lenses to build those bridges. Thank you, Dr. Sonia. Thank you, Danielle, too, for sharing. And Rhonda, thank you for sharing. Okay, and so we want to talk a little bit about what the how the book is set up. And so it's set up in 5 chapters. Beginning of the book is an introduction to the methodology and to our mindset as adults and parents and teachers, and how we can start the process of engagement. So, as we started this conversation, the EMIY Way is made up of 3 components: engagement, empowerment, and encouragement. And so Calvin has put over 40 years in this process. And as we started to move through that process, applied in our program, and have our program acknowledged and designated as evidence-based by U of M, we started to pull even further the details of the skill set and the information that help together the EMIY Way in this ebook. So it's a practical tool. Again, it's interactive. It makes you ask yourself questions, and it gives you some things to try differently, regardless of how you're interacting. Again, if you're a parent, teacher, if you're a youth practitioner, or if you're trying to just connect to the boys in your community, this is a great tool to help do that.
I
And
want to
so,
touch
as you,
on I want to touch
oh,
on
go ahead,
something,
Calvin.
because I think it's important when you, as you described the chapter setup, um, and citing the 40 years, and a lot of people will say that their kid is fine. A lot of people will say that um, my son doesn't need mentoring basically until he's in trouble, right? And that's a bad formula, right? And the thing that I kept saying over the 40 years was, if you found out this child's dream, what were you willing to do to help the child achieve that dream? That becomes a huge part of the engagement, as is the reality that they may need to pivot from said dream. When we talk to these boys over the years, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is a sport. I want to be an athlete. I want to play basketball. I want to play football, right? We have to then go back. Okay, you can choose one sport, but what about life? And we generally have to go back and say that again, because after they choose one sport, their next pivot is the second sport. And so, what you are about to have in your possession through this EMIY is being able to navigate the child right into success, away from the trauma and the drama, right into taking action for themselves, as well as handling their business at home. It's such an important piece that we've shaped our children not to be assets in the home. Well, this environment and communication will make the child an asset in the home. We have too many young people that can't even scramble an egg. We're doing way too much for our children. And this process allows them to learn, be interactive, right? And then take off. They see a different world because they have a different process with time. If you're on the television, if you're on the phone, if that means isn't you're not as important. So I'm knowing I pay attention. So I'm not as important because you're on the phone, you're watching your favorite TV show, and I might be asking you a question. Silence is still the best place for two parents and the kids to come together to grow. It's still the best place. No noise, no music, no. Those are the areas that you can navigate this young man in prevention and build him into exactly what you need him. We're doing too much talking toward him and not enough listening and understanding in order for him to see himself and identity. So this is a good part right here. And I'm excited that you didn't get here. So thank you.
Mhm. And so when we think about this tool and who it's for the parent who may be experiencing burnout. It is for that parent who is trying to build a healthy relationship. It is for that parent who knows that my son is moving in this direction. And if he continues to move in this direction, there are going to be more significant interventions that have to take place. And we structured this because both of us, of course, are parents. We've also have been youth practitioners and in the classroom. And being able to see it from all of these different perspectives was also helpful as we start to think about how this would help in the classroom. And one of the amazing opportunities that we have experienced is that we worked in a number of schools. We worked in a number of programs. And the reaction from the students when we come into the classroom or in an assembly is very much a surprise often to the teachers and the administrators on why do they respond to you like this? You've only been in the space with them less than 30 minutes and you have engaged them. You have involved them in a conversation and they're sharing and they're participating and they're excited. It's like, how do you do that? And so we've been asked that over and over and over again. And this tool is designed to help answer that. And so it's one of if you've ever been in a space with Dr. Calvin, or if you've seen him in a space with boys in particular, but it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls, the student body, when you see the reaction, when you see him apply, it seems very natural because he's been doing it a while. It does take some practice. So this guide is for those of us who are ready to take a new approach, who are ready to do something different, who are ready to invest in a way that is long term. And so the other part of it is for those of us who have really need a break. This tool starts off with helping you to take a step back, to pause, to breathe, to reset, and to move our doubt away, to move our past out of the way. You can reset and you can release the past stress or burden of how the ways of being in the past. What we do is we set a reset and we help you to set that reset so that as you take that break and you take that step back, you breathe in new life, new information, new tools. That is who this guide is for. The EMIY design is designed with both the adult and the boy in mind. And we're talking about boys who still have the room to grow and to change. And once you get over the bridge, it's that communication. Once you start to learn about how and what they are communicating through their body language, through their behavior, and most importantly, through their identity or sense of identity, you have a different tool in your hand. You have a different opportunity to build this relationship in your hand. And so this tool, by way of design, is for that purpose. It is for a next chapter. It is for a new way of being. That is for us and for them. Because again, once you cross that bridge, once the communication, the new language is established, then you can have a conversation. And what you hear from that point forward is going to be very, very helpful in understanding why certain behaviors or attitudes have been the way that they have been in the past. And Calvin, so if you want to talk a little bit about why the Emmy Way matters, if you can take on that bullet. I think you're still on mute.
I think is important. The EMIY Way matters because we know that the skill that when you are trained in this will affect all your relationships. The other process that is really at play right here, the rewire culture, is the new language of boys. In the research, the cognitive research for boys, right? I use this term loosely. When I was coming up, my mother used to say, "Get from up under me, go outside," right? In the rewire culture, the boy is right there, sitting next to you. Everywhere you go, he's in the passenger seat, and you're rewiring him in this behavior. And that doesn't build him to become a man, husband, or a father. So the rewired culture begins to happen when a child falls out and doesn't see himself. So where there's not a presence of him, he automatically starts the rewiring. His brain literally starts rewiring itself. And so you wonder why he's emotional. You wonder why he has tantrums. You wonder why, because what we discovered, and I've been saying this for years, your sons and your children will give you exactly what you want. If you want him to respond this way, that's why he's responding this way. You can't demand that he responds another way. He's rewired. So you have to rewire him literally in order. When they come to our mentoring program, it's 14 weeks of rewiring. It's not right. We keep the parent away. We make sure we involve the parent when it's time to involve the parent. But in that time they're with us, we spend rewiring the boy, right? These two things, this one thing right here is why the EMIY Way matters, because your son may spend too much time with you. And in that case, if he's spending too much time with you, you're affecting what he has to become. And we all know, I don't know about y'all, but as a man, it's not easy. And so our boys have to begin to be shaped, which early on in this our conversation, we were talking about technology. Technology makes him a follower. Practical makes him a leader. The less amount of time he's involved with technology and the more time he's involved with practical, he's still winning. So I say those things because it's research, it's cognitive research, and it's very, very important. And this is why these two things really matter.
Thank you, Dr. Calvin. Another way that this book is set up, the chapter, again, we said that it was interactive. There are activities and scenarios. And so I'm going to give you an example of one of the scenarios and just to share your thoughts. Because this is it was just one that is very close to home. And so what so here's an example. And in once there is the scenario that is set in the book, the structure is that you understand what is the tool, the potential tools that could be used for that circumstance. Secondly, how do you feel without looking at the tool? And then once you have, how would you respond using the tool? And then it also helps you to work through your why. Why did you feel this way from the beginning? And how do you unpack that to look at how your mindset needs to shift? It's a clear way to do that. And so one of the examples was that one of our young people had interest in Michael Jackson. And because they had this interest in Michael Jackson, they were modeling his style. So one of his outfits was, you know how Michael Jackson's outfits are. It was a one of which, had a lot of moving parts to it. And so the young person was recreating that image as best that they could in their interpretation of it and modeling Michael Jackson's style. Well, the style itself was very creative. And so they were being, told how creative the outfit that they were making was. And so, in that same sense, I mean, these were things that were taped on paper clips, stickers, and you can imagine that any household items were used, safety pins, uh, belt buckles, and this all of these different pieces came together to create this image in the mind of that young person. And the young person was so excited when they finished the project that they decided to wear it to school. And one of the flags that came up course, with the parent was, kids can be cruel. They may not understand. And it's should I allow a young person to go out in public like that when, they felt like this was a great accomplishment, but would the world see it the same way, or would the students see it the same way, or would the teachers, would the environment support that level of creativity when it was kind of a makeshift image? Do you, and this is a question for those of you who are listening, do you allow that young person to go to school that way and have that experience, or do you deter them from going to school using that as an image? And this is just a quick question. If you can put that in the chat, you can drop it in the chat. And what would you do? What would you
Heather,
do?
would you mind repeating that question or clarifying it?
Sure, sure. So this young person in your household, it could be a grandchild, it could be you know, a direct child, it could be a somebody close to you. They have an interest in Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson style. So they decide to create or recreate a Michael Jackson type outfit. And so they put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. And it looks like it was household materials that were used, from tape, glue, zippers, buttons, paper clips, anything that was used that would dangle or swing that would give the impression. And so the question to you, as the one that have been encouraging them because it was creative, until now they want to move into the public eye with the outfit that they created. Do you encourage or allow them to go? And I'm saying school especially because of their peers. Do you allow them to go and go out that way, or do you deter them from going out? Because we know that sometimes kids can be cruel or mean and say, "What is that?" Because it is not something that was that looks even anything near mainstream. So the question posed to you all on the call, if you don't mind putting your thoughts in the chat, is how would you respond? Do you encourage them to go? Do you encourage them to stay? What do you do knowing that they're going into this environment? Okay,
We got a couple.
okay.
So Dr. Sonia Rivas she said, with working in schools now and seeing how kids interact, I would discourage it to protect them from potential criticism. Lori said, I think it would depend on the child's emotional constitution. If they were ready to be unique, perhaps get made sport of, it might be a positive thing. But then again, the teacher might be concerned if it could cause distraction. Age is a factor too. Danielle said, in my experience, once you've clearly explained what may happen, if they feel confident and does not go against school policy, I'll allow them to move forward with their decision. Go with it. Dr. Angela Roman said, and my old way will be no.
Mhm. Right. And because our mindsets, especially as adults, as protecting them, is to shield them from any harm. One of the opportunities that we talk about in the book, and you'll have an opportunity to see that, is that identity is an important lesson, and how that person's identity is being built, and the confidence of who they are is part of the environment that they are creating. And so, as you think about that, and you think about new ways of being, and you think about not you as an adult, when you think about their decision as that young person, the type of communication that we're bridging is about identity, not about other people's acceptance. And so this is not a judgment and this is not a good, bad, right, or wrong. This is an opportunity to reset because, again, our adult lens puts on has already thought these things based on our experience, based on our age, based on what we would do if it were me. And we constantly use that mindset. What would I do if it were me? And we place that mindset on our sons or on our boys, as opposed to understanding their language and what does their language say about who they are. We put to the forefront who we are, not necessarily who they are. And so it's some real clear examples and activities when we talk about activities, and then we talk about practice and how to consider applying the new skills. So there are opportunities just to think differently and to remind us that we're thinking with our adult mind and not the language or bridging the language barriers that we often have with our boys that we don't even realize that we have. And so, thank you all for your feedback. This is not about judgment. It wasn't about good, right, or wrong. It was about an opportunity to think about a process that we've already established and how to then look at and reset that process again through a new lens. And so, again, another part of the way that the book is structured is that there's always an opening thought. And the opening thought helps to uh, build the content for the next chapter or the next section. And so, I'm going to give you an idea of one of the opening thoughts and or our objectives, because that's the next thing that's always introduced is an objective. And so, here's one for you. An opening thought is, and this is in the form of a quote. So it says, "You can't solve the problem avoiding the solution." And so the objective is to understand why early encouragement prevents negative outcomes and create resilience. And so each of the chapters are going to show up that way. They're also going to be key practices in the ways that we have done things, maybe have done things in the past that allow us to now rethink the way that we're doing things and what we do moving forward. And then the last part of it is, what is our approach? What are the potential approaches? And it gives you an opportunity to think through potential approaches using a new mindset or using a different lens than maybe I'm accustomed to using. And this is again, this helps build that muscle. And the muscle helps us to build the bridge. And so I thank you for your time and attention to this section, just understanding how the book is set up.
You got to remember
And
one
so
thing.
now,
Excuse me. You have to remember one thing in that process and everything that was just shared. And once you get this book in your possession, you have to remember this thing. Being consistent in the area of what they truly want to achieve means, as you have built that bridge, now the encouragement is the pusher. You don't have to push them. You use the encouragement. Once you get the skill set, you'll see. And you'll be able to remind them that this is what they wanted with the encouragement. So that means you have to understand that you have to work that much harder for what it is that you say you want. Now, as a parent, it is not our job to get in the way. It is our job to help grow the way. In other words, one of the stories that goes along with that is I had my cousin got his knee busted. He was a junior at Penn State University, and he was on his way out as a junior, on his way to pro. And because he got clipped, what's the process? And so years prior to that, he was told not to deal with me. And so when he came out after getting out of surgery and going in the process, he called me and he told everybody he was going with me. I just reminded him during the work that he said he wanted to be All American. What is the adjustment? I want to be first team All Big Ten. Well, this is what it's going to take. Now that's what you want to be. Here's the work for that. And so we put in the work, and he was a first team All Big Ten. And now he's a scout for the NBA. And my point to that was I didn't harp on it. I used the encouragement at his dream. This is what it's going to take for you to get that. And that was what we did.
Thank you, Dr. Calvin. So this just gives us a few minutes to ask you, based on what you've heard about the book so far, what would you like to know? Is there anything that you would like to know about the book? Anything that we've shared with you? Any thoughts?
You guys can come off mute.
I would like more information about the program.
Mhm. And that's Danielle.
Is there, what is the target age?
For the ebook, once you get this ebook in your possession, if you go, Heather, put the link in for the ebook. Once you get this ebook, right, and you can order your copy, and as soon as you order a copy, you pay the link, it'll be sent directly to your email. This works from birth all the way out. Because what you're going to do is you're going to master the skill. This program, there's a whole nother level to this. We have a certification program that comes with this. There's some things that we're going to, there's another offer once we get through this, but we wanted you to have the ebook first. Then for those of you who wanted to ebook, you can have access to the ebook. It's a good read. It's clear for you to understand. And once you start using this, applying it, you will see instant results, because the one thing is you're redirecting the order of the kid. Right now it's the other way. I mean, here are some of the threats we do as parents. Well, I'm gonna take this away from you, and or you want those shoes? Why don't you do this for me, and I'll give you those shoes? You're bartering in their ideas, and so it becomes manipulation on both parts. There is no bartering. I didn't get to there as a parent. I didn't know I'm not bartering with you, right? This is what you are going to do, and I have to be consistent. This is one of the things that has impacted boys right here. Now, when you say no, leave it at a no, because if you make that no weak, you could turn that boy into a rapist. And what I mean by that is, because your no's get changed, he might think that's the same thing he can do with a girl. And then if she rejects him, as you've seen, we can't handle rejection. This is going to help them handle rejection, because when you say no, your no will be a no. Right. And in that process, they'll then learn to navigate from the consistency into the directions that they need to be. So here's the link for you to grab the ebook. If you ordered, hit it in the inbox that you've ordered. You've already did it. And from there, before the night's over, you will have a copy of that ebook in your email. It's also, we're going up on Amazon as well, and that's some other stuff that we're doing for the paperback. But I'm sharing this with you because it's important for you to have this skill. And some people will pick it up and read it and take the skill and have it already. But some people might want to go a little further, and that's something we'll talk about a little later. But um, I'm sure you guys really have an idea about what, um, as her questions asked, I'm sure you guys got some ideas about what you can ask. So this is a good time to ask a few questions
Well,
while you're.
I do have a kind of a follow-up then to that, because what you kind of shared, I can definitely see, like if you're parenting a young boy up into it, but what if you have parents of young adult men, early to mid 20s,
Same thing.
um, who
Same thing.
might already have patterns, start.
Yep. And so here's where, is that Danielle?
No, this is Dr. Sonia.
So Dr. Sonia, what that mean is your consistency has been in one direction. And so the allotment for young men in that age is dependency. And so when you shift that environment, right, again, is the engagement process. And that's where it really comes down to, what is it that you really want to do? Once that answer, you don't accept, I don't know. You know, but you're fearful because of everything, all that ingredients up to that point. It's hard. You're fearful. So in this case, no, we need to really get an answer. So once they give you that answer and that engagement, now let's show them. That's the empowerment. Let's show them what it's going to take for them to do that. Then being consistent there, because a lot of times we get laxed and our consistency fall off with a soft yes. Or we get lax and we be overly concerned that, well, I'm so concerned about him. It's so hard out here. No, actually, there's a lot of wins out here. There are a lot of young men winning. And if you take your lens off all the failure, you will see where there are a lot of young men winning, and they're being creative, and they're doing things that is enhancing them. So that's where the empowerment comes in. And then the encouragement is, this book is going to tell you, as soon as he gives you an inch, you celebrate that inch toward his dream. That's going to empower them to take those steps. And part of that piece is pulling your hands back and only saying something one time, not where you're constantly repeating yourself. There's a certain tone that they've mastered where they know you are soft. They know you are gentle. Oh, she's just trying to be. They know that because they've already mastered you. But when you say no and keep that tone and walk away. Now, when we sit down, we go through this whole process, you will see that it'll navigate them to a different level. And especially boys in their 20s, you have to encourage processes for them boys in them 20s. All right, I see you, Dr. Sonia. You have to process them boys in their 20s to trades, to physical activity. You have to limit, right? Because it's so easy for them to get high, go to different places, sit still, play games. It is tough out here, and play that game on your couch. Well, no, that's not how it works. A boy must become a man, husband, and a father. And so that's what this strategic order is about. And I hope I answered that question for you. Anybody else got a question?
I just want to add, Dr. Calvin, for especially for the moms that are on this call, the mothers and the grandmothers, and they're really pulling and looking for their sons to turn the corner. This tool really helps you. Again, this is about building the bridge. Those things that Dr. Calvin mentioned in terms of how they can change and the other things that come, this has to be your intervention. Like, where do you go from here? From here, you have to be able to speak the same language. understand what a behavior means. Like, what is the real message in saying this or doing this or isolating or ignoring or having to have repeated conversations? All of those dynamics, there is a process that comes before that. And again, once you start to understand this tool, you can start building your part of the bridge. And that part of that bridge that you're building is going to be rooted in trust.
Yeah.
It's going to be rooted in, can you really hear me? You haven't heard me before. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
And I know how that sounds, and I know what that feels like, but that is why we created this tool, and we put this tool in a book so that you could practice. It is going to take practice because it's a mindset shift.
Right.
You're not going to look at it the first time and say, oh, let me do this. You may have to go through those activities a couple different times so you can get the, just like learning, it is just like learning a new language.
Yeah.
This language you're learning, it includes body language, it includes responses. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's our adulting, our experience that causes us to be biased to what they're saying, to judge what they're saying without understanding who they are. Communication is always happening, even with behavior.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what they're saying, the behavior can be misinterpreted, misrepresented, and it can push them further into isolation. Because if nobody can understand what you're saying, it pushes you further into yourself. And so this is an opportunity to build that bridge. That's why this is so important and such an important tool. And thank you for making that first purchase, Dr. Sonia. And when you make this purchase, and you can just take a screenshot of this, and when you're ready, or if you want to share it with someone, please do that. Because once you set the ebook in process, it requests your email. And so as it's requesting your email, then we can make sure you get this and another tool. So I'm going to go to our last slide here. And as I'm thanking you all for being here, this is just another opportunity to it's another opportunity to learn more about the EMIY. This is another way where you can learn it together. It is one of our seminars. This is one of our seminars that we are conducting at the end of this month. The ebook itself is an easy read. I like to make sure that people can get through it, and you can read it, you can reread it, you can pre-read it, you can practice. It's a great tool for you to use. And so we are having a seminar on March the 26th. It says 2027. It's March 26th, 2026 at 6 p.m. And we're going to actually go through the book. We're going to do the activities together so that people can get an opportunity to go through the process and understand it. And so if you're interested in being a part of that, this is the QR code for that. And it comes with a report card, which is your self-assessment to keep you on task around, are you really applying it? Is it really working? Can you see the difference in yourself? Can they see the difference in you? Is that trust continuing to build? And then you also get with this special offer that we're sharing today, you also get 15 minutes with either me, Dr. Heather, or Dr. Calvin. If you have some specific questions about your boys that you want to work through with Dr. Calvin, you'll have that 15 minutes based on this tool, how to apply that. And so it's an opportunity for you to do it again. If you will take a snapshot of that screen, and just for you today, for being our guest, we're offering this seminar to you. When you see it again, it won't be the same price. And this is really about a $400 value that you're getting with this particular offer. So take advantage of it while you can. And while we are in this process of this launch, because we really want you to have this tool, we really know that it makes a difference. We have worked with over 24,000 youth, around 68% of that, somewhere around almost 17, 18,000 boys. We have been applying this approach for years. We know it works. We know it works. We've seen that and we see it in our boys. And so this is an opportunity again for us to do something to bring this tool to our community so that we can take the next step forward. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention and for being with us today.
Thank you
Anybody
so
got any other
much.
questions? Everybody good?
You're welcome.
So Danielle, just you can call me. You got my email. You can let me know, and we can do something for your school.
And also, if you want to drop your email in the chat, I know you wanted information about programming too, Danielle. So thank you. Again,
Yes.
thank you all for being here and for your time and patience with us as we launch this anyway. So
Thank you,
your
Sonia.
your feedback is awesome.
Buying the first book.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I actually seen it come across social media. It was like literally, I just saw it. So of course, anytime we can support each other, that's what I've been always wanting. So I'm glad that it's starting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have a
Joe,
great night.
I know you've been silent, but thank you for being with us today. Thanks for
Of
listening in.
course. I'm about to review it when I get it.
All right. Awesome. Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Good night to you.